Good evening. I'm Melissa Ridgen. A former social worker with the BC Ministry of Children and Family Development in Kelowna pleaded guilty today to stealing money from at-risk Indigenous youth in his care. That's according to one of his victims and a local news outlet, Castanet.net. Robert Riley Saunders pleaded guilty to 3 fraud and breach of trust charges as 10 were dropped. The case was profiled on an APTN Investigates episode after former Kids in Care filed a class action lawsuit alleging, quote, Saunders sought out and exploited Aboriginal high-risk youth because he knew that his supervisors and their managers would not look closely at their affairs or adequately safeguard their interests. Criminal charges followed, and last year the BC government settled the lawsuit, paying out thousands to dozens of kids, most of whom were Indigenous. According to the lawsuits, Saunders would open joint bank accounts and then take government money meant to be used for their care. He's not in custody and is set to return to Kelowna Court March 21st for sentencing. We will have more on that story in the coming days. If you want to know more about this case, you can find the episode Broken Trust on aptnnews.ca. Well, summer wildfires have mostly run their course, and in Manitoba, work is being done to repair some of the damage that's been caused. But 2 First Nation communities have still not returned home, as power has yet to be restored to those communities. With an update, here's Daryl Stranger.
The smoke has all but cleared on one of the most active wildfire seasons across the country. Here in Manitoba, 36 active wildfires are currently burning, but none of those are considered out of control, and many affected communities have returned home. Roughly 1,500 residents from Pungassi and Little Grand Rapids First Nations, however, have yet to return home, as fires damaged the 2 communities' power supply, and Manitoba Hydro crews are still working on repairing them. Now, Manitoba Hydro said 73 of 90 poles have been repaired or replaced, and 30 of 35 structures in need of repair have been completed. Now, with no road access, equipment needs to be pre-assembled and flown by helicopter to the damaged area. The Canadian Red Cross said support is still being given to those residents out of their community and will continue until they return home. The help is the same as it has been throughout the response, providing lodging in hotels, food, and other necessities, as well as working with partner groups to provide access to recreation as well as medical and mental health supports. Now, Manitoba Hydro says the pending timeline for the remaining work is 2 to 4 weeks, pending weather disruptions. They did not get back to us for comment. Daryl Stranger, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Thanks, Daryl. Well, the BC Lions Football Club rolled out the orange carpet for residential school survivors and their families this past weekend. APTN's Tina House was there and has this report.
Tonight is all about honoring truth and reconciliation. And Phyllis Webstad, who, like many in her family, attended the Mission Residential School in Williams Lake, BC. Fans lined up to take pictures of Phyllis because it's her story that started the Orange Shirt movement.
When I turned 6 in July of 1973, Granny did what she had done for the generations, got me ready to go to school, and we went to town to Williams Lake, and I chose a shiny orange shirt for my first day of school. It was 1973, the hippie era, everything was really loud, and it was like a Nemo orange, and that's what I chose for my first day. And when I got to the mission, my shirt was taken, and I never did wear it again.
And like all the kids who were forced to go to residential schools, her experience was not a good one.
It didn't matter how sad we were, how hungry, how lonely. There wasn't anybody there to advocate on our behalf or to tell us that it would be better.
That story has swept the nation and has become the symbol of honoring residential school survivors and their families, along with the slogan, "Every Child Matters." George Chaika, Vice President of Business Affairs for the BC Lions, says they are proud to honor the survivors at tonight's game.
We're happy to be able to be part of the platform to help tell Phyllis's story and make the rest of British Columbia aware, as rest of all of Canada, about her story, because it is an important one and it's one that we all need to take note of.
And finally, fans got ready to go into BC Place, including residential school survivors like Harriet Nahaney. Nahaney, along with 10,000 other fans, are being given these specially designed BC Lions orange shirts by artist Corrine Hunt that features an Indigenous lion. And with a sea of orange shirts in the crowd, and fans cheering watching the BC Lions and Saskatchewan Roughriders go head-to-head. Honor, respect, and true reconciliation was felt by everyone watching the game. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Might be needing one of those BC Lions shirts here in Bomberland. Well, Manitoba's Premier and Indigenous leaders participated in a pipe ceremony this morning, together inside a teepee that's been set up for this Thursday's National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Michelle Karlenzig was there.
I just want to do that, so you remember today.
Oh, I would never forget it.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for coming.
Ava Wilson-Fontaine passed sweetgrass to Manitoba government ministers this morning at Memorial Park. The gesture followed a pipe ceremony which starts off Reconciliation Week and leads up to National Day for Truth and Reconciliation.
We passed it to them because we want them not to forget. You know, that when they see it, when they touch it, when they smell it, that it reminds them of today and what and the step in the right direction and to reconciliation.
Anish Corporation and Waysay Healing Center has put up a giant orange teepee for residential school survivors. September 30th is now a federal holiday to honor survivors and children. The pipe ceremony is just one of many events in Manitoba leading up to September 30th. The National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation out at the U of M will have virtual events all week, from survivors' stories to lessons on treaties and land rights. As for today, it's been a while since a Manitoba Premier has been seen participating in a powwow, or engaging in ceremony for that matter. Interim Premier Kelvin Gertson and Indigenous Services Minister Alan Lajamodier both attended the pipe ceremony. Fontaine says their attendance is a step in the right direction.
Get uncomfortable. It means that they're willing to sit and listen, you know, and that is really what, as Indigenous people, we want, is to be heard. And so coming to meet with us in their offices, to smudge with them there, and then to come and sit in ceremony, and for them to just listen. It's such a powerful act.
National Day for Truth and Reconciliation was created after Bill C-5 received royal assent in June of this year. Michelle Karlenzig, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Well, more drama for Canada's Green Party today. The federal leader, Annamie Paul, announced that she is stepping down a week after suffering a fourth-place finish in the riding of Toronto Centre.
I just will not spend any more time focused on political games as opposed to public policy, which is what I entered politics for in the first place.
Paul says she doesn't have the heart to remain in the position given the, quote, attacks she says that she knew would be coming. Her announcement today comes amid a leadership review that was supposed to start next month and recent internal fighting from within that party. She says her decision was based on two things that happened on Election Day and immediately afterwards that caused her to think about what she wanted to do next.
What people need to realize is that when I was elected and put in this role, I was breaking a glass ceiling. What I didn't realize at the time is that I was breaking a glass ceiling that was going to fall on my head and leave a lot of shards of glass that I was going to have to crawl over, throughout my time as a leader. And when I arrived at that debate stage, I had crawled over that glass. I was spitting up blood, but I was determined to be there. I was determined to be there so that the next time someone like me thinks of running and wonders whether it's possible to be on that stage, they will know that it is possible.
She was great at that debate. Well, Paul did not win a seat in the election and raked in just over 8% of the vote, a significant drop from the nearly 33% that she pulled in during a by-election last fall. Well, we need to take a break, but when we come back, as most of the country enjoys a post-election rest, Nunavut is gearing up for a territorial election. We'll tell you all about that. Stay with us. After a contentious federal election, most voters are happy to put the prospect of an election near the bottom of their concerns, but not in Nunavut. The writ for the territorial election dropped on the same day as the federal election was held. Now all the candidates are in. Our Kent Driscoll joins us from in front of the Nunavut Legislative Assembly. Kent, what are Nunavummiut going to do, or what are they going to see in this election?
Well, the first big surprise of this election is a return to action from a legendary Nunavut political figure. Tagak Curley is back. Now, Curley has one of the most decorated careers in Nunavut political history. He was the first president of ITK. He was a Northwest Territories MLA from 1979 to 1989 before Nunavut split apart from the territory. And he's been a Nunavut MLA from 2004 to 2014. Now, Curley's running in Rankin Inlet South against the incumbent health minister, Lorne Kusagak. Kusagak has a long record to stand by as well. He's a 3-time former mayor of Rankin Inlet, 2-time MLA, and he was also named health minister back in November 2020. So the government's response to COVID-19 is bound to be a part of this election cycle. Also notable, who is running unopposed? 5 incumbent members of the Assembly will be running unopposed this time, including both seats in Arviat. Now in Arviat South, Premier Joe Savicata is running unopposed, and in Arviat North Whale Cove, John Main, who is the chair of the regular members, which is basically the opposition leader in the southern system, he is also running unopposed. Also running unopposed, Education Minister David Joannesy. And David Joannesy spent a lot of the last term under fire for his department's response to the COVID-19 crisis. Nunavut's long-time problem with gender balance in the Assembly is also back. Only 14 of these 58 candidates are women. Nunavut goes to the polls on October 25th, and we'll be following along right here.
Thank you, Kent. Well, on Vancouver Island, protests to protect old-growth forests at Ferry Creek have gone on over a year. Just after those protests started, the province of BC released a report on old-growth management. One of the experts behind that report says a forestry overhaul is needed. APTN's Lee Wilson reports.
There have been over 1,000 arrests enforcing an injunction against blockades, stopping Surrey-based logging company Teal Jones from operating. The protests began in May of 2020. A month before the blockades started, an old-growth strategic review was submitted to the province. It is an independent review of how BC should manage the old-growth trees. The review was released last September and calls for a paradigm shift for all stakeholders. Gary Merkel, member of the Tahltan First Nation, is one of 2 professional foresters hired to create a new framework after speaking with 800 British Columbians.
Part of this report speaks about the necessity of bringing everybody together and planning this transition together, because this is a major shift, and you don't want to have government trying to drive the whole thing, because then they just become the lightning rod for trying to impose something too big on society. We need society, the key players, to all collaboratively plan how we move through this transition.
One recommendation is Indigenous involvement, moving from very little involvement to a government-to-government Indigenous relationship. Another key recommendation, Merkel says, is moving to a system adopted in other parts of the world, where the health of the ecosystem is prioritized.
If you take care of the health of the ecosystems, the aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems, on a landscape, it will take care of all the rest of those things for you. You take care of the land, it takes care of everything else.
The Ministry of Forests sent an email statement to APTN News detailing the plan to modernize. In a break from divisive practices of the past, we will engage the full involvement of Indigenous leaders, organizations, industry, and environmental groups to find a better approach on the future of old-growth forests in BC. But Merkel says while some of the recommendations have been implemented, there's still a long way to go. In some areas of BC, there is an abundance of old-growth forests, but in most areas of the province, these forests are up against the wall, and they need to defer logging. Merkel says BC set targets or limits on how much old-growth logging was permitted, but without monitoring to keep track, they've blown past those targets.
We are right now in a situation where we have taken so much of the old forest that we are down to remnants in certain areas. And if we have any chance of managing for ecosystem health, we need to defer harvesting in those areas until we can build an ecosystem health plan.
Merkel says the predominant way of harvesting in BC is still clear-cutting. Even practices thought to be banned are still taking place, like progressive clear-cutting.
Which means we thought we banned this, but I've seen pictures of valleys right now that we're still doing this. We start in one part of the valley, we work our way up, and then we kind of spread until the whole valley is gone. That level of disturbance in an area that has never been used to it sets that ecosystem back thousands of years.
This year, the BC government formed a technical panel to assist with carrying out changes. In an email statement to APTN News, the Ministry of Forest shared, "Since September 2020, we've designated 11 areas that contain almost 200,000 hectares of old growth that is deferred from harvest." Merkel is part of this new panel and says,
"So we just need to defer in those areas, give us a chance to build a plan, and then figure out if and how they fit into the harvest timing over generational."
As the province works towards implementing the Old Growth Strategic Review, protests continue on Vancouver Island, calling for province-wide protection of old growth trees. Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Kitimat.
Thanks for that, Lee. Well, we have to take another break, but there's still more news ahead, including a new private school that's in Ontario, teaching a handful of kids from a cultural foundation. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Our viewer CJ Lassard caught this moment, a pelican and a cormorant having some sort of a discussion on the shoreline in Prince Albert National Park. Keep those photos coming, and the more wildlife, the better. You can email them to share@aptn.ca, and then you can tune in here each day to see if it's our next photo of the day. Let's take a look now at tomorrow's weather forecast. Off to the east coast, we got sunshine and 15 for St. John's, 22 and sunny for Charlottetown. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and Cartwright, both 24 with a chance of showers. Quebec City, 24 and sunny, 25 and sunshine for Montreal. 23 and sunny in Ottawa. North Bay, 21 with a chance of showers. Kapuskasing, 20 with a chance of showers. Big Trout Lake, 11 with a mix of sun and cloud. 15 and sunshine for the Paw. Puckatawagan, 11 and sunny. Biggerns River, 16 with a chance of showers. 21 and sunshine for Brandon. 22 and sunny for Swift Current, 20 for Yorkton, Regina, and Saskatoon. 15 and sunny for Buffalo Narrows, 15 and a chance of showers for Larange. 15 and showers for Fort McMurray, 17 and showers for Grand Prairie. 22 and sunshine expected for Edmonton, 23 and sunny for Calgary. Campbell River, 18, mostly sunny skies, same with Quesnel. Fort Nelson, 18 and sunshine. Prince George, 16 with showers, 9 and cloud for Beaver Creek. Mayo, 9 and cloud as well. Fort Simpson, 16 with a chance of showers, 9 and showers in Yellowknife. Tuktoyaktuk, chance of flurries, 3 degrees. Same with Inuvik, 8 for Colville Lake, mix of sun and cloud. Whale Cove, 3 degrees and sunny skies. Arviat, 4 with cloud. Igloolik, -3, mix of sun and cloud. Joe Haven, mix of sun and cloud, and 0. A dozen women proudly walked a mile in a ribbon skirt for the second annual event that aims to bring awareness and honor to those who wear them. Organizer Chevy Rabbit and his friends experienced discrimination at an Edmonton restaurant while wearing their ribbon skirts and came up with the walk to help fight racism, discrimination, and to stop cultural bullying. April Eve, Medicine Spirit Dancer, is a co-organizer and says abuse against women has to stop.
It's a really important event for many community members to come together to showcase their ribbon skirts, which always have very deep meaning, very personal meaning. Also, we are also aware that there are members of our community that don't have access to culture and access to even making ribbon skirts. So, hopefully through more increased awareness, there will be more opportunities for more of us to embrace our ribbon skirts.
Getting an education in an urban center that has Indigenous culture and language at its core, well, that can be a challenge. To fix that, there is a new school in Peterborough, Ontario. It's the first of its kind in that area, located in the city's north end. Here's more with Annette Francis.
There are no morning announcements here. Instead, these young students begin each day with circle time. It's an opportunity to introduce themselves in Ojibwe, go through the numbers on the calendar, and the name of the month. It's only been 3 weeks since Sage and Sunshine first opened its doors, but already the kids have caught on to the routine. This school is the creation of teacher Ashley Wynn. According to Wynn, it all came together when the pandemic forced her to homeschool her own kids.
I don't think I would have thought about it if I didn't get the chance to homeschool them and incorporate the culture into their day and realize that there are other ways to do education. So.
For Wynn, who is Ojibwe, integrating Anishinaabe culture and language into the daily school program for kids aged 4 to 9 was a must. After obtaining some grant money, donations, and fundraising through GoFundMe, Wynn secured enough to start with 8 students.
As a mother, it's very rewarding because this is what I've always wanted for myself as a child, and now I get to offer it for my kids, and then I also get to offer it for the community and their kids, so it's really important.
It's the first time that 9-year-old Chaska has been enrolled in a full-time program. She's always been homeschooled, but sharing her culture with the younger students comes naturally. She says that's the best part of their new school.
Singing songs. I also like to teach them how to read. And I'm learning how to speak another language, like I said.
Chaska's mother, Irpi Pine, is just as pleased.
When I saw there was a culture-based school opening up in Peterborough, I thought what a great opportunity now that she's older to socialize and have a group that she can interact with. And it's amazing that she can learn the language and be among other First Nations people and also get to make friends and in a space that I feel comfortable sending her.
Already, Dallas Contons sees a big change in her 7-year-old daughter, Nevaeh.
She's loving it, and I couldn't be happier with that because last year she was not liking school. She was wanting to stay back from school, and she was wanting to just not go at all. And that's in grade 1. That was for grade 1, and I've never known a kid not to like school until she started here.
Wynn is already planning for future expansion. With all of these happy faces and so much positive feedback, there's a strong possibility.
Well, I hope to grow all the way to grade 8 so that these children can stay together until high school and build a community.
Anna Francis, APTN National News, Peterborough.
Well, that is your APTN National News to kick off the week. I'm Melissa Ridgen. We are so glad you could join us. Have a great night.